Casey coming up, and Devontae Adams making a tackle.
Is hit as he throws the ball, but it's complete. Devontae Adams again. 4th and about 3 inches. Turns. Play action fake, wants to throw it. He lofts it for the end zone, and the pass is caught for a touchdown. And that is Devontae Adams. So the Raiders cross up the Steelers, and on 4th and 3 inches, neither Wallace nor Peterson could defend it, and that's a touchdown.
Adams' presence would remain throughout the night, but the Raiders' lead would not.
They bring the blitz. Kenny throws it long down the field. There's a man open. He's got it on a dead run, and that's Calvin Austin gone. Touchdown.
Sweet Marie, what a beautiful throw by Kenny, launching that thing. And you've got Calvin Austin getting inside Marcus Peters, and he just ran straight down the middle.
72 yards is official, and we are deadlocked as the Steelers march at 75 yards.
There's 2 guys on you on every 3rd down, ain't it? You see it? So you eat. That's why I said, who's going to kill? 19? Remember that? Yeah, let's eat.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown.
That's the way to work. Come on.
He's hit and sacked. The Steelers win the football game.
Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. The Steelers made their first of 3 trips to the West Coast this past weekend, and they came home with a win on the road against the Raiders, something they haven't been able to do since 1995. The 2 teams met in Las Vegas for the first time, and the star power on and off the field did not disappoint. For more on the team's first win away from home, let's welcome in Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
Hey, Missy, thanks very much. And we welcome in head coach Mike Tomlin. The mojo, you talked about mojo last week. You got some mojo right off the bat in the first quarter.
I'll be really honest with you. I didn't mean anything by that mojo comment. Sometimes when you're not playing as well as you like, you get a bunch of questions. And my answers aren't always entertaining or attractive to those that write those stories. And so I just gave them some copy that they could run with it. There's nothing mystical about our performance. You know, we work hard, we get better, we improve, we gain cohesion and understanding about what we're doing. We have a better understanding of our plans week in and week out. It is really reasonable to expect your group to get better, particularly at this portion of the season. I also thought a thing that was significant last week is it was our second week playing without Deontay. And when you lose a significant piece from a unit perspective, it requires some adjustment as well. And I thought we were better in week 2 without Deontay than we were a week prior. And the same thing could be said for our run defense with Cam Hayward. It feels like we're learning to play without a couple of significant pieces, and we're gaining the continuity that comes with stepping into stadiums repeatedly at the early portions of this process. And so I don't believe in the mystique, but I did say mojo last week to feed the beast, to give the media something to run with, and they did.
The other thing you do talk about, and it's an important thing, is weighty downs. We saw that right off the bat with a 3rd and 7 play. There were a lot of good things going on with that play, and the fact that you've now come back-to-back weeks with big chunk plays, something that wasn't available all that much last year. How significant was that play, especially because it was 3rd and 7?
Again, what we're doing in terms of building, I don't worry about it in reference to a year ago. We just got to keep getting better. It's reasonable to expect us to continually get better. We got a bunch of new pieces. Guys are evolving. Calvin Austin obviously is growing, and you see it. Allen Robinson is new to us, and so there's some things going on there that make you excited about gaining the type of footing that at least on display. And again, a key component of it is to build. It's reasonable to expect this week's edition to display growth.
So I want to get back to that play because Calvin Austin is an enticing target because he has the speed, but Kenny Pickett made a beautiful throw. There are a lot of components of that play I think we're worth talking about. Number one, It's not easy to hit a 4-3 guy, is it? People make it seem like, okay, he's open, but you still got to put it there, and that requires, I think, more than someone who maybe is not as fast. You can underthrow a guy like that, can't you?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why you work routes on air and repeatedly do things in a practice setting. A quarterback has intimate relationships with all his guys, and so when you know, that's why muscle memory is a component of it. You absorb all those reps in the spring and summer from a developmental standpoint. And so you're processing that like breathing almost without even thinking about it. And so those intimate relationships really get cemented over time. And really, by the time you're in stadium, man, they're processing that component of it without even actually thinking if you're good.
So another part of that was Jaylen Warren and blitz pickup. You know, right up the middle, there was a guy coming. I think it was Crosby. I'm not sure who it was, but he stepped in there and did what was necessary. How big of a play was that?
Jalen's always been big in the blitz pickup game. He's combative. He's aggressive, man. He excels in that area. I tell you, another significant component of the play is the two people that George Pickens occupied. George had a big game the other week against Cleveland. We anticipated them putting two people on George, and so the free safety was not in the middle of the field. He was leaning over on George, and that's as significant as anything that allowed the play to happen. The attention that George was going to get, the attention that we anticipated George getting, obviously, because Deontay wasn't playing in the type of game that George was coming off of, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Kenny Pickett also seemed more comfortable, more confident. A lot of it seemed to be rolling out, design rollouts. Is he, talk about strength of a quarterback, it seems like he does that very well.
He does, but that's nothing new. He did that well on pit video as well. He's good at large point changes, always has been, throwing on the move with velocity and accuracy to his right and to his left. Got really good balance in his game in those areas. Defensively,
once again, you guys come up with big plays, turnovers. Last week was 2 defensive touchdowns. This week, 3 picks. I know that's important. Your defense, as you said, is still evolving. But, boy, those are huge at big times when it changes the direction of the game.
I think when you talk about the turnovers, they were born out of situational moments where they got somewhat one-dimensional, and that's our ability to slow down the run. The difference between the game 3 and game 2 and 1 from a defensive perspective is our ability to control the running game and thus be able to anticipate the passing game and get in good schematic calls or make good communication in anticipation of moments. I can't say enough about how significant it is to control the run and how that tees up the potential for splash that happens in the passing game.
All right, we have a lot more coming up. Coach, next up, it is the Houston Texans coming off a huge win last week. It's a young team, and they got some dynamic players. We'll talk about the Texans. That's coming up in a little bit. Missy, back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. And let's talk about 2 dynamic plays from the Steelers so far this season, because Kenny Pickett is the first Steelers quarterback to have touchdown passes of at least 70 yards in back-to-back weeks for the first time since Ben Roethlisberger in 2018. All right, here's some fun facts thanks to Next Gen Stats. We'll start in week 2 versus the Browns. George Pickens reached a top speed of 20.56 miles per hour on this 71-yard TD. Then the following game in Las Vegas, Pickett one-upped himself on Calvin Austin III's first NFL score. The completed air distance was 46 yards, the longest of Pickett's career, and Austin's top speed came in just below Pickens at 20.45 miles per hour on the play that traveled a total distance of 75 yards. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud is the first rookie in NFL history to throw for 900 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions to start his career. But this week, he'll be facing a Steelers team led by Mike Tomlin, who is 23-4 versus rookie QBs. Let's get a scouting report on this matchup and send it back over to Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Yes, the Houston Texans, this is a team that is young, but they came off a huge win at Jacksonville by 20 points. Coach had to be impressed with that. First off, talk about DeMeco Ryans, a guy in his opportunity here after spending time in San Francisco. He's a physical kind of coach, just like you. I imagine that's going to set up a big night.
I like DeMeco Ryan a lot. had a chance to spend some time with he and his wife at the owners' meetings. My wife and I, they kind of remind us of us, you know, managing young kids and being young with an opportunity. It kind of forced us to gravitate to them, spend some social time with them, and really like him a lot as a guy. Respected him as a player, and really respect him as a coach, man. And see his footprint. I see his mode of operation being displayed, and he is a tough guy. He is a fundamentalist. They do not make mistakes. They play hard. They don't give up easy things, and I think all of those things are in line with his philosophical beliefs, and I'm just always impressed when I see your tape match your words.
Well, they drafted a guy, C.J. Stroud. He's been outstanding. He hasn't made a mistake. Last week, 280 yards, very efficient, especially in the pocket. What do you see from him? How difficult is it to go against a guy you've really never seen in a professional setting?
I see a guy that's mature beyond his years. He wasn't a one-year or one-trick pony in Columbus, Ohio. He wore the responsibility of being the franchise quarterback at an institution like that, and all that does is tee you up for the responsibilities of being a quarterback for an organization at this level. He does a really good job of extending plays and escaping danger while keeping his eyes downfield. He doesn't instantly become a runner, and that speaks to professional maturity. You better be good in coverage as he extends some of those plays. And he makes timely decisions. I see a lot of balls coming out on rhythm to a variety of people. He's already absorbed, you know, some change even through 3 games. He's got a wide receiver on Noah Brown, I think, on IR. It created an elevation in roles for guys like Dell and Hutchinson, and he appears to be rolling fluidly in spite of some of those things. And so he just shows signs of a guy that has overall readiness and experience beyond his years.
Plus, they have an offensive line. Last week, they didn't have Laramie Tunsil. They had a lot of guys who weren't starters in there. Very impressive to go on the road and do what they did. What was the key to their offensive line play with them?
Slowick, their offensive coordinator, came from San Fran with Coach Ryan. And one of the things that, if you remember correctly about our San Fran discussion, is they minimize negativity and they stay on schedule. When you do that, you give yourself a chance. And I see a lot of philosophical things very similar to San Fran. They did a nice job staying ahead of it a week ago, not being behind the chains, and keeping the defense off balance. And I've seen a desire to do that through all 3 of their tapes. Sometimes game circumstances will get you out of that mode, like it did for them in Indy. But I see great balance. I see rhythm throws. I see a group that's working hard to stay on schedule, and when you do that, you have an opportunity to reap the reward of it and keep a young quarterback out of tough circumstances.
Anytime you win by 20 on the road, there's got to be some special teams moments, and they had an 85-yard return of a punt by a fullback. And they also had Will Anderson, a guy they traded up and gave a lot for, picked 3rd overall, who blocked a field goal as well. So that part of it, I think they're one of the best in the league so far after 3 weeks.
Yeah, and you don't have to get to special teams to talk about Will Anderson, man. He's Freddy Krueger, man. He's scary. He is as good as anybody in their defensive group right now. And I'm talking about he's 3 games into his professional career. He is very disruptive, both versus the run and the pass. He is a handful for tight ends. He is really good in the run versus tackles. He is a problem for tackles in the passing game. He is just a really good player. He's a diaper dandy. He was a 20-year-old, a guy that we looked at in the draft and spent time with in Tuscaloosa. Not surprised by any of the things that he's doing, whether it's defense or special teams. And no question, special teams was a major component of the game a week ago, and it was for us. Can't say enough about the traction that we've gained with Presley, for example, and some of our net punting in recent weeks, and how field positioning can be a major component of how these games unfold, particularly at this stage of the season, man. Offenses are finding their rhythm, their cohesion, and so forth. And so when you work on a long field, all it does is provide more time for you to absorb negativity, somebody on block getting you behind the chains, or a penalty that gets you behind the chains. And in September, those are the 2 significant things that really stall drives. Miscommunication and not getting people blocked in the run game puts you behind the chains in a illegal formation, illegal motion, a false start, things of that nature. And so that's a component of it as well.
All right, when we come back, we'll hear from Coach Tomlin about the keys to the game. It's a big game, 1 o'clock, KDK. We'll have it for you. That's coming up shortly. Missy, back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. And it will be a big day for the Watt family as well. JJ will be enshrined into the Texans Ring of Honor at halftime of the game. And it was a September to remember for TJ Watt, who was named the AFC Defensive Player of the Month. Number 90 is the first player to record 6 sacks and have a defensive touchdown in a team's first 3 games of a season. Now it's time for this week's Yinz Chat trivia question. Which former Steelers quarterback has the most passing yards in a single game versus the Texans? Tommy Maddox or Ben Roethlisberger? We'll tell you after the break.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Your Yinz Chat trivia answer is Tommy Maddox with 325 yards in the 2002 season. Yinz Chat's regular season challenge is back, and each week answer Steelers trivia, make game day picks for a chance to win signed helmets, jerseys, footballs, or even a trip to the 2024 NFL Draft. And new this season, doubling. Answer the day's questions correctly and get double the points. Just log into the Steelers mobile app now and play for a chance at this week's prize, a mini helmet signed by Pat Freiermuth. The Steelers' offense started to resemble what we saw in the preseason during their trip to Las Vegas. Kenny Pickett threw 2 touchdowns in the same game for the first time in his career, with the second TD going to Pat Freiermuth. For what worked so well on that 6-play, 81-yard drive, here's Merril Hoge with this week's playbook.
Hi everyone, welcome into the Factor Back Studios for the Acrisure playbook. So let's get right to it. It's the second play of the third quarter. One of the most or best ways to throw the football is on 1st and 10. Very first play of this drive, that's exactly what they do. But they throw it from what is called run action. So what's run action? Here's run action. Offensive linemen look like they're blocking. They come off the ball and they make it look like run. Your runner, he looks like it's run. Your quarterback turns and they make it look like run. They'll even throw a wrinkle in here with the tight end going around. The key to doing all of that is what it does right here with these guys. Watch what they do. All of that action right there has really paralyzed the box here. It's frozen these guys. Look at the hole here and the void in the middle of the field. What is nice about this is you got to run a good route when you do it. And really that's been an awesome job by Pickens. He threatens the corner to the outside and then he comes back into the middle. So they've done a good job in the box. You free your guy up in the middle. You got chunks of yards. So I said it earlier, one of the best downs to throw the football is on 1st down. Well, this time they're going to do that run action again, and look how it affects all of these defenders initially. All you want to do right here is freeze these guys. Don't allow them to get depth or see run. Let's snap the ball. What do you see that looks very similar right there? You got the fake here. You got misdirection there. And Freiermuth now is in the corner because how you froze the box. All of this drive, all of these plays were a combination of great design, great play calling, and then awesome execution. They keep doing this thing more positively, more of it during the season. They're going to evolve as a better football team.
And you can catch more of Merril's playbooks on the Steelers' official YouTube page. Well, Pittsburgh is getting ready to head back on the road and getting ready to play in another dome. They've won 5 straight road games, extending back to last season, their longest stretch since 2020. For more on how they can keep extending it, let's check in one final time with Bob and Coach for your keys to the game, presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. So it's a big game on the road again. This is a young team. Coach, how important is it to get off to a fast start, especially against a team like that?
You know, I'd like to get off to a fast start, but it doesn't define us. We can't allow it to define us. We can't be subject to something as fragile as that. Football is 60 minutes, but for us, How we absorb the environmental component of it, particularly initially, is significant. You can quell a crowd early in the game with playmaking, like we did on the third down play to Calvin Austin a week ago, relatively early in the game, or you can wake a crowd up. And this is our second opportunity in a venue on the road, man, and we got to take control of it, and we got to empower the Steeler Nation that's there as well, man. By the end of that game, man, last week, man, we felt the presence of Steeler Nation, and so did Vegas. And I'm excited about maybe seeing Steeler Nation in Houston, and us doing what's necessary to entertain them to make that a legitimate thing as well.
Yeah, it was like 70-30. It was unbelievable how much you saw there. TJ talked about that. How important is that for players to hear that, for you as a coaching staff? How can you raise your level of play even more in that situation?
Forget the level of play. We're talking about really tangible things, man. TJ and I all last week were talking about, man, if we get up on these guys, they might be operating on a silent count late in the game in their home venue, and what an advantage that is for a rusher. That's what TJ's talking about. And you felt it with the pressure that we were able to apply later in that game with he and others. And it's because of the environment created by Steeler Nation. And so it's more than just an intangible quality to that discussion. There's a real tangible quality to that as well.
One other thing before we go, and that would be they're going to honor J.J. Watt in the Ring of Honor. TJ's going to be there. I imagine for the family, that's going to be a very big moment for them.
No question. But I'm sure TJ won't care at all at the moment, man. TJ's somewhat of a serial killer, particularly when it comes to game time. He won't care at all. He loves his brother. It is a blueprint for him, but what's going on in that stadium on game day relative to those things, he won't.
Coach, I look forward to it. We got a serial killer going against Freddy Krueger. You can't miss it, and you're watching on KDKA TV. Thanks for your time as always. We appreciate that. It's the Steelers and the Texans coming your way at 1 o'clock on Sunday. See it on KDKA. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.